Ṣẹ̀kẹ̀rẹ̀ lọ bá jó, ṣẹ̀kẹ̀rẹ̀ lọ bá jó, olúwa mi ò dìde ojú
The Ashen Forge.
ṣẹ̀kẹ̀rẹ̀.
Ashen's the Ashen Forge.
Hello and welcome to the Ashen Forge. We have a lot of stuff going on. I hope everyone can hear me. I think everything is unmuted. I mean, I'm just trying to make it. So, I think you're, hold on, something else is going on. Yeah, you're muted. I got you. You're good now.
So, but why is that? Okay. All right.
All right. We have had a lot of interesting stuff. So welcome everyone. We're going to reset. Hello and welcome to the Ashen Forge. I am Phantom X, joined by Diggs as always, and soon to be joined by the legendary Neurotoxin. We've had a mix of stuff. I was trying to put a coming soon sign image over Neuro's screen. And just kind of, it's one of those things you're trying to save an image and it's in a format that's not going to work with OBS. And it's like, okay, it's 2 minutes over.
Mm-hmm.
We're just going to keep going. So, and then for some reason, OBS changed the audio source and it was not unmuting. So I think we're good now. Thank you all for joining. Oh, there. Yes. This is going to be super exciting. Yes. This is.
So I'm actually in the process of kind of setting up for the show. So they're just going to get started and I'm going to be back in a few minutes and jump in and, it'll be fun. I'll have to ask what I missed. So I'll be back in a moment, everybody.
Sounds good. Life happens.
Yeah. So we have quite a bit to talk about. We still had some, the bathroom. Yeah.
I'm sure he's going. I'm sure he's on his way.
Yeah, he's in the bathroom. He might be. I don't know. I mean,
he's just getting out of his car, so that might be a thing. Who knows?
But yeah, so we did not wrap up AMA last time, so we had some of those questions left. We might wait for him to come back for that, but we also have Node Wars coming up to talk about. That should happen right? Are my days off? That'll happen before our next show.
Yes. Of course, I have nothing to say about that.
Nothing at all. Diggs has nothing to say.
I generally don't try to speculate before the actual stream drops. I'll have a lot to say after it drops.
All right. And then there was, of course, cutscenes. That is another thing we have not gotten to.
So wait, but I have a question.
What's that?
I have a question. Did we actually see a bunch of different wand specs this month? Weren't we supposed to see that?
There was a talk about did they say this month?
Yeah.
Yeah, they put them as shorts. Yeah, so they have stuff to go. Yeah.
Okay.
Apparently you have missed that.
No, I kind of saw them fly by, but I didn't know if they were different or not. Okay. All right.
So, yeah, so just another thing that we can talk about, I guess, at some point. There's nice that there's a lot of information. Hey, thanks, Vladis. Well, I appreciate you very much, man. A lot of fun stuff to get to. Anyways, my head is like spinning because of all of this commotion. And literally the last 5 minutes, I'm going to tell on Diggs. Diggs joined the last 5 minutes. So I'm just sitting there twiddling my thumbs, waiting for the third person to join so I can do the cameras. Yeah, and there we are.
I wonder why I was late, Silver Niker.
Oh, you've been on the forums? Is that what it's been?
I was typing away in the
All right.
forums. Actually, specifically to Silver Niker, answering his last
Well,
post.
was that the battle pass?
That is the battle pass.
Yes. Is that something you want to wait on Neuro? Because he's got some.
Apparently, he had the same reaction Niker would have had, but
I was still surprised.
he quickly turned around once I said that it could be free. Battle pass could be free for Ashes.
Quickly turned around. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Where do you want to start?
I don't know. You start. Pick something. I'll probably have some opinion.
All right. Why? I mean, I do want to talk about. Well, I guess I can't really talk too much about.
No, you can talk about. No, try it. What did you think about Node Wars? What are you thinking?
I'm more wanting to know what you all are expecting, what you all are looking for. Come the stream, kind of what your expectations are. The main thing I wanted to kind of make sure everyone is aware of is that it is Node Wars, not Node Sieges.
Okay, so how will Node Wars be different than Node Sieges?
Well, a siege is going to be sort of the end all, right? So you declare siege, you win, a node gets taken down, versus Node Wars are going to be more series of events, I guess. Someone declaring war, a mayor declaring war on another node, not necessarily a siege, right?
Yeah.
You can have war without siege.
Why would a mayor do that?
Oh, that could be a number of reasons. Interpersonal reasons, irritated at the other mayor.
Give me some just irritated at the other
Sure,
mayor?
I expect that will happen. You don't think that'll?
Well, I mean, I think of those things as more objective based. I think there has to be an objective.
Well, you have to initiate it, so that's what I'm getting at. So,
So I think there would still have to be an objective, like trying to destroy one thing, like a service or something. I don't think it's just, hey, I don't, kind of like enemy of the state. I don't think it's just like, I don't like you, so we're gonna go to war. I don't think it's gonna be as easy as that. I think there has to be some objective that's declared that you have to try to achieve in order to win the war. It's just that objective is not going to be destruction of the node, or total destruction of the node. But but yeah, I don't know what the motivations are supposed to be.
Yeah, no, I would assume economic is probably going to be one of your top ones, as Vlad had said. But I mean, this is something we've been told all along too, right? If you have a guild that's taking all your resources, or people, reputation matters. If somebody has done something, one of the recourse you can certainly declare a node war against their node. Is what we've been told all along. So that's why I said there could be some interpersonal conflict that jumps in. So yeah, I want to point this out to you because it
says, but the objectives will only spawn during server prime time. So there's got to be objectives. That's kind of my point.
Well, you're conflated. There are two linked things. So I think we're talking about different stuff. Before I go on to that, though, I do want to mention, node wars and again node sieges are different. So a node war doesn't. I'm answering the text here in the chat. So a node war does not necessarily end in a siege. A siege couldn't be not at all involved. I'm talking about the reason for initiating a node war, not the actual activities involved. There could be different reasons for declaring war. What do you, when you say, what would you expect? So you declared, you're part of a node declares war on another. Like, what objectives are you what do you think should happen?
That's what I'm asking, but I'm looking at node wars in the wiki, and it says node wars can be declared at any time, but the objectives will only spawn during server prime time. So there's objectives, and I would be expecting the objectives to be the reason that you're having the war.
You would expect the objectives to be the reason. So if someone,
Yeah, there's
So
something
you're
that's
saying
has to
if
happen to put an end to the war, and there's probably a reason that would be the objectives that you're working towards, right?
well, I guess I'm just trying to follow you. So you're saying if someone declared um, war because, say, I always talk about this guild going and taking all your resources, and so that somehow the objective would be tied to
Yeah,
that me taking
sure.
your resources. That's what you would expect.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, and that's what you're getting from the wiki, I guess.
I don't know what type of objectives are.
I guess
I
what,
guess
yeah,
what
I
we'll
mean,
learn tomorrow.
yeah, there can be a variety of different objectives. I guess I don't know that you would necessarily attach it to the reason for declaring war. Um, a learning secret says people are petty and or like drama. Wars will happen for the heck of it sometimes. I think that will happen.
But I think
So I
it's
don't know
like
that.
but Steven said the same thing about guild wars. There are objectives, and then you work towards ending that objective. And I think he kind of said you can't really even start a guild war without having declaring what those objectives are. So um, I guess we'll learn more again tomorrow. But it's
So
supposed to be more objective based than just, oh, I don't like you.
So I guess so if I'm understanding you correctly, what you would expect is a mayor declares a node war against the neighboring node and gives a reason for that, and that reason then is attached to the objectives that are spawned because of that war. So that's what you're
Yeah. It's supposed to be meaningful conflict. That's where that falls in. And the meaning is the objectives. But the meaningless conflict, I call it, is the open seas, where you're just fighting because it's a free for all and you fight. But that's not the way node wars and sieges and guild wars are supposed to be, is my understanding. But again, everything's subject to change. We'll find out tomorrow.
yeah.
I
I'm
mean, not
trying
tomorrow,
very
but
hard to thread a needle here. So um
mhm.
more so understanding what you're expecting. Um
I'm not expecting much. I'm just saying I know there's objectives.
all
Yeah.
right. Well, I'll get back to this when Neuro kind of jumps in. Go ahead.
And I'll say too, right? Probably my understanding of what a node war is more comes probably, it's very likely that it comes more from Jeffrey than from Steven. So we'll have to see.
I mean, I think there's better, there's updated uh, information out there for you to look at. I would say. Um,
I mean, I'm looking in the wiki.
yeah, I just don't know that I think. Well, we'll find out more. Certainly, yes, war is going to be a series of objectives, right? It's not just a single thing. I just don't know that those objectives are tied to the actual reason for declaring war, because you can declare war for any reason. So, um, but we'll see. We will all get to see what it's like soon enough. So, all right, I want to get straight to this just because it's already 15 after. We can come back to Neuro when he comes back on his take on Node Wars. But all right, I gotta jump into battle passes because this has turned into like 12 pages of conversation very quickly. I had actually made a comment on the original post
Oh.
and didn't think anything of it, and then came back and there's like 300 new messages or something. Yeah, so Lattice and everyone else that's not in the forum. So there was a comment. Actually, what was the specific? I have it pulled up here. Um, battle passes MMOs. In MMOs,
Mhm.
basically state your opinion. That is what um, the question was, for or against. There we are. Perfect. And that has spiraled. I was surprised. I'm gonna let you take that. I'm gonna mess with the
Okay.
cameras here. So,
All
did
right.
you?
So I'm gonna say, after thinking about our pre-show conversation, I realized I didn't understand things quite as well, and
I'm going to say something different here. What I'm going to say about it is there are many ways to offer things in a limited period of time that people can achieve and complete while they were there in order to gain some sort of reward or achievement of some kind that is in some way separate from some of the other systems going on in the game. So, winter isn't just, same time IRL as it is in game. We'll be going through the seasons at a very regular and important pace. So they're not going to line up in any way.
Wait, what's they? They are not going to line up.
IRL seasonal events compared to
Oh yeah,
the seasons in game.
yeah. Seasonal
So
is
so it's the idea that it doesn't even have to be necessarily for a three month sort of season period, but it could just be some intervals of some amount of time that they decide on that could possibly even overlap in some ways, where players have the ability, if they want to engage in certain activities, and should they, engage in all of them, they'll get all the different rewards. Maybe they don't want all the rewards. Maybe there's certain things they do want. Maybe there's certain things they don't care about, and so they might focus their time on a little bit of this and that. But to do it in a way that's not necessarily distracting to the main elements of gameplay. So a way to do that could be, for example, doing more NPC driven stuff where you have to, talk to certain people at maybe not necessarily at certain locations, but maybe everyone at a town or above or whatever has a person who's really into some event that maybe celebrates the constellations, for example, maybe like some sort of a Vec holiday, and so it's a sustained sort of holiday that goes on over a long period of time and correlates with certain constellations that are generally not seen as much, if ever, other than during this sort of once in a lifetime season relative to the lifespan of errands. So the fact that it's happening now is this very important and amazing event, and everybody has access to it, so long as their server has survived that long. I don't know if you delay them for late start servers or if it stays in sync with everything else and it's just FOMO for coming in late. But it could be done in such a way where it's not necessarily described as a season pass, but if you go through the details of it, it has elements of a season pass that are driven from engaging with NPCs and narrative events. And yeah, you might have to do a little bit of questing and this and that for it, but it would be specially available for having done it. And it could also be something that maybe gives you some other reputation and other opportunities afterward. So that's the sort of thing that I could see them doing instead of just a very like strict cut and dry, well, here's battle pass, y'all are subscribers so you get your battle pass, do your dailies, do your quarterlies. I know how people might not like that. I know how people don't want something where it feels disingenuous and not in the way that they would play the game to have to engage in certain things just to enjoy these benefits that other people would be able to access because they do engage in those sorts of things. And it's not even a get me out of my comfort zone so much as like, I don't want to run around and do this and that sort of thing, or I just like to stay in one place and play with my friends, and I don't really want to go around and do big bad sort of stuff right now. I don't have the time to invest in that sort of thing, etc. Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see how people may or may not want it. I don't necessarily think they need to put them in. I think there's going to be enough content going on constantly that you don't really need to add battle passes, that you don't really need to add that sort of stuff. And quite honestly, I feel like as much as Steven loves FOMO, because let's talk about that and the shop and the way it's set up.
Let me
Steven loves FOMO, but I'm going to say on the other side, while Steven loves FOMO, he the downside of doing something like this is that it creates a loop that people might not want to engage in, but they want to get the rewards from. So it creates some odd friction in having people play the game the way they want to play the game. Diggs, I would like to hear your opinion on this for sure. I don't want to hear my voice anymore.
So first, there's in modern battle passes, there's not really a lot of FOMO. You got 3 months to finish the battle pass, and it takes about 100 hours, which is about 9 hours per week. You can finish the battle pass just playing about 9 hours per week, and that's pretty casual time. And it's really like a quarterly pass. Season pass is like a colloquial way of saying it, but it's really just going to come out 3 times per year. It's not really tied to actual seasons in that way, and kind of more in the sense of a chapter. It's going to be a new chapter. It's just dropping quarterly, basically. And we were talking a lot about the purpose of it. It was really a great I had a great conversation with Silver Niker and some other people in the forums. So I was very happy to have 11 or 12 pages just to understand the different points of view. But really, the purpose is to extend people's time a little bit more. Like, I'm going to once an expansion drops, I'm gonna stop playing it after I've played through it with 2 different characters on 2 different factions in WoW. I'm going to be done until the next expansion. I'm not going to play through the Bisgear loop of doing raids over and over and over and over again, and dungeons over and over and over again for Bisgear. I'm going to wait for the next expansion. So
Took
the
me a
point.
second when you said Bisgear. I was like,
Oh,
Bisgear. Is that like a
uh-huh.
biscuit or something? Like
Best in
you take
slot.
it.
Best in
I
slot.
like
Best in slot.
I like Bisgear as like a fake instant pastry sort of company in like a
Beskar,
fantasy
Bisgear.
game. Yes, Bisgear.
Beskar. Um But to me, I think the purpose of it is that it gives about, because it usually comes along with some new story and new content. It comes as they're dropping that new story. And the thing is, it's a way to introduce new story, new content. It's probably only going to be about 20 hours or 30 hours of content at the most. Um, and then the battle pass will give you activities to do, and a reason to go down the progression path for your cosmetics. And that can keep people who are interested in doing a whole bunch of stuff in the game, want some story attached, and will keep playing to get cosmetics and play that 20 hours of content for 100 hours before they leave. It's just a way to get new content. And there's usually a spike. When the new season starts, there's a huge spike, like 3 to 4 times more players come back and play it. And if you can get them playing that 100 hours 4 times a year, that's kind of better than getting people to play 100 hours once a year or once every 18 months.
I'm going to interrupt you real quick and just recognize everyone rating us. Thank you. We really appreciate y'all coming and hanging out with us. So I came from Gray Sentinel. So actually, I was just watching another great show. There's so much great content creators out here. Every night, I swear, you can watch. You can watch someone every night, and everyone's absolutely wonderful to be watching. So, all right, keep going.
No, that was about it. I mean, that's the nutshell. Is it just it's a way to get content in more often because it's kind of streamlined. It's like a very streamlined expansion, and then the way you go down the battle path just keeps people like me who are more interested in cosmetics than in uber powerful gear. Um, it keeps us more interested in playing a little bit longer. Um, so I don't think, well, we hope that Ashes won't need it and that nodes will keep us actively going in a way that we aren't waiting 12 to 18 months for new content. We're hoping that it's going to churn out new content. Of course, we haven't seen that in action, so I don't know how well it will work. But because Steven also is planning to do seasonal DLCs, I'm expecting that to come in the form of a battle pass, especially since they're so popular now. That's my expectation. So I don't think it needs. I won't say that it needs it because I'm gonna be optimistic about how well nodes will be implemented, but I'm expecting, especially also because we had a battle pass with Apocalypse, and they already know how to do them well. And I think they found that battle pass was successful. So I don't know if it will be totally free. I don't know if it will only be a free path, or if they will also include a premium path. But I'm expecting to see a battle pass.
Yeah, I have to say I just typed this out in chat, but I'm very amazed at how controversial this has been. I get all of the reasons. Oh, it's only Mag and Diggs versus everyone else. Okay, maybe not then. Well, everybody did
Well,
seem to jump to the idea of paying extra. I guess in my mind, you don't have to have a battle pass that costs extra money.
yeah,
But then there's good points. Well, if you're directing people there to obtain items rather than the game itself. But I mean, if you're just having them collect extra rewards for things they're already doing,
basically, you're still playing the game. Um, the other big thing was FOMO, and because people are assuming that there's FOMO and that if you miss your dailies, they'll say it's a chore and all this stuff, but it's not a chore when your task is to eat 3 food or to do 5 emotes at dragons. Um, you know it doesn't, like, I finished dailies and weeklies. In well, I can do what, 4 sets of dailies in like 7 minutes. So it's not taking a lot of time out of my gameplay, especially when I'm playing 4 to 6 hours or 8 hours each game session. But there's not a lot of FOMO these days in the battle passes. They give you ample opportunity to finish them, and it's not such that if you miss a day, it sends you back to the beginning, and you're like, oh, I fucking missed a day, and now my progress along the bar is reset, or I missed a week, and now I can't. I'm never gonna get to the end because I missed a whole week, or even 2 weeks. So to me, it's a win-win. A lot of it was just explaining how battle passes work because people are expecting them to be like they were prior to the last 5 years. And they were frustrating and annoying for all kinds of reasons. But in the last few years, the ones that have been dropping have been like win-win.
Sorry, I'm just laughing at chat because these kids need to get a job. Get them in the coal mines. Forget coal mines. Let's just set them up with some alt accounts and they can grind out some money. Oh, wait, did I say that out loud? Sorry, I shouldn't have said that. Yeah, no, I don't know that I'm average. I'm not like saying Ashes of Creation should have a battle pass to start with. I think there are very valid reasons for not. I did think there were some immediate responses though that seemed, the two that I just didn't comment on the forums because I didn't want to get pulled into that. Was the cost, because you certainly can do a battle pass without extra cost, but then also the FOMO side, which it's like, well, haven't we? I mean, they've been doing that for 5 years now. I don't know why. Is that where you draw the line? Like all the cosmetics that we had are okay, but a battle pass is no. Like I guess that's where the line is drawn. So
I think Ashes of Creation needs to have a working, fully complete and released game. I'm not really worried about a battle pass one way or the other right now.
It's certainly something I think that comes in after something's existed for quite a while, and you want a reason to kind of keep bringing people back and forth.
Well, again, like I said, it usually comes with it's like a seasonal DLC, and Ash is expecting to have a seasonal DLC. So I'm expecting the form of that is going to be a battle pass, but we'll see. I mean, I could be wrong. I'm just saying what I expect. I'm not going to be playing the battle pass anyway for Ashes.
Yeah, because you're not going to be playing.
Exactly. I'm just going to be exploring.
You know
I won't be
playing.
I will not be doing any progression.
You want to bet money?
I will bet you $500.
500. I don't know about $500. I think
Okay.
you would purposely. I don't know about $500.
I'm just telling you, I'm very confident I will be doing 0 progression.
All right. Well, we'll see how it goes. Then I don't know why we're talking about battle passes. Battle passes with battle passes.
I'm just saying I expect it to be there. I didn't say I need it or that I expect to be playing it or I want to be playing it. I just said I expect to see it.
All right. All right, Diggs.
You're gonna get progression. Going around the world's gonna have progression.
Wait, did I say I won what?
He won't even play the BP. That's hilarious. Sorry. Yeah, they'll pull you in just so that because you love battle passes so much that if all they have to do is introduce one and then you'll play the game.
Oh, that's what they think. Yeah. No.
You'll have reason to.
No.
Nur, I wanted to come back to you. We had already kind of touched a little bit on Node Wars. Went kind of fast because Diggs didn't have a lot to say. Obviously can't go into too much deep details about everything just with PI. So I'm more so curious what your expectations are. Kind of how you understand Node Wars to be. And again, I want to say this again because we've had some more people join us. Node Wars and Node Sieges are not the same thing. We will be seeing Node War. We will not be seeing a Node Siege. So, do you have any expectations?
I can see how Node Wars can be useful in a lot of different ways. In particular, beating up or interrupting a rival node, or perhaps to sabotage one that wants to build their way up to a metropolis, but instead of trying to knock them over as a whole thing in a siege, to simply continue to curtail their efforts by having everybody nearby declaring war as much as they can and doing what they can to interrupt and make a mess out of their plans. Take down every last caravan. Don't even have to do the ganking, just the resource grabbing, throwing off the wildlife and ecology in various different ways. That's the sort of stuff that I could see being done, not as instead of as a way to take the place down once they've gotten too big, but to instead ensure that they never get that big to begin with, so the place you really want to build up can make their way to the top. That's where I see a lot of it potentially being useful. I could also see just petty beef. Two streamers get, nodes nearby and they make beef with each other or pretend beef and, have a lot of fights and stuff, but, it's all content, so it's just, fun, whatever. Beef nodes, exactly. Yeah, you get it, Nick. So that's that's kind of what I'm thinking. I don't know how much it's going to be used as a belligerent tool to force everybody to be on their toes in PvP all the time. Some servers might be like that. Some of them, I don't expect as much conflict. That maybe they use it more as a reserved sort of thing because they know if I'm going to fight them on a war scale, I might not be able to build myself up. We might not be able to build our own stuff up as a result. So there is definitely that bum risk versus reward of whether you even want to conduct the wars, and likewise, you might not want to have war declared on you, but it might be declared on you. Now, that's something I want to ask about. Is it an agreed upon declaration, or is it launched unilaterally?
One
Is
thing
that
I'm thinking
something
about
that's public yet?
One thing I'm thinking about at the moment is that the wiki does say that node war can be declared at any time, but the objectives will appear during server prime time. And I think that any time means any time of day, while the objectives specifically are during server prime time. Um, and since there are objectives, I'm wondering if this is true with Guild Wars 2. I do wonder if you have to agree on what those objectives will be and what objectives will end the war.
That would be
Wait,
nice to know,
what's
how that's all going to work. I hmm.
wait? What did you
I
just?
feel,
Sorry, I just
I,
zoned
I,
out.
I I feel like one of the examples that would kind of maybe fit with that was the one where he was saying getting into a feud over land management and launching a war over it, and then one of the objectives being we need to restore our land management and kick their now red labeled butts out of here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
And
So
then
you,
likewise, I mean, it could even go further than that. It could be, kick their butts past a certain point, and then um, maybe claim, I don't know, 500 or 1,000 units of lumber or whatever material from their side of things to shore up your own resources.
My other question, it might be in the wiki. Does it say if there's a cooldown for Node Wars? Like if you win the war, how quickly can you start it with the same uh, node? That would be my other question.
yeah, we don't
How
know the
often?
answer to that at this point.
Okay,
Assuming it's a
all right.
costly endeavor, um, I would think at least from the now. I guess you could have I mean, you'll have more than one neighbor, so I guess you could potentially have a different neighbor that spends that cost to declare
Mhm.
war on you. Actually, thinking that thought through a little bit further, what happens if you're surrounded by 3 nodes and all of them decide to declare war?
Yeah. Well,
Um,
that's kind of like what I was saying earlier that instead of letting you build up and then knocking you down, they just never let you actually get big enough so the place that needs to be up to a city and then metropolis for their business purposes is given that opportunity, that they're still, in the, I don't know, like the tier 3 to 4 range or whatever, and nobody's actually built up to metropolis yet. So the vying for power sort of thing starts to get kind of intense, I would imagine, at that point. And so,
so
yeah, if you've got all the surrounding nodes beating on the doors, Not going to make that much progress unless you have a huge population. They kick a whole lot of ass, and they go out and make a mess of everyone else. And it's like, nope. There's a reason we're going to be the Metropolis jerks.
Or unless you have a mega guild.
Mega guild, or a super mega guild community of, yeah, we brought, 2,000 members.
So,
giant.
this is a PVX game.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've heard a lot about PvP objectives. Would you expect there to be PvE objectives within a declared node war? Keeping in mind it is a 3-day process with multiple different components during peak time. Like what
I
would your
think the
expectations be?
objectives. I think the objectives are going to be PVE, right?
I'm gonna go back to what I had said before about the idea of if it's something specific to land management, for example, then yeah, it might have the PvP objective that you got to go, do what you can to defeat enemies within your territory over a certain period of time, or potentially also to go into their territory and take some of their resources because you don't want to take more from your own stuff. You got to let stuff replenish. So
I mean,
those they might not necessarily be. They might not resolve in PvP if they're like, aha, we declared war and nobody actually decides to participate. Or they just decide, all right, we're just going to back out. We're just going to sit this one out. You guys waste your resources. Then, maybe they will come across and you got to kind of see a little bit more fighting there, contesting resources on the other people's area there. But I have no idea. I doubt there's going to be siege weapons involved in node wars. I don't think we're going to see people going out there with like
trebuchets.
multi-shot ballistas and stuff like that, because it's not that kind of fighting.
Yeah.
Unless that's what it's going to be, is you build a fort in like an intermediary position, you got to hold it and like don't let it get knocked down. If it gets knocked down, they can rebuild it and take it over, sort of thing. And then they're rolling out the siege weapons at you from the midpoint. That would kind of be odd to make it just a battleground between the two nodes, but that could be a sort of way to do it, I guess, with like a fixed location that you're fighting over and around.
Battleground between two nodes. So would you be happy with that?
I don't really know. I think we'd have to try it in alpha or beta and see how it works. And if it don't works, if it creates too much interference, then maybe not. Once again, going back to the idea, if it's a 3 to 7 day sort of thing, and maybe you can't do it again for a while for various different reasons, maybe that's not so terrible, because it's only a short sustained thing, and if you really don't want to deal with it, just go to a different for a moment that's not involved in a war, and make some friends, do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and shore up your resources. And then once the whole thing blows over, you come back home. It's like, hey, so what happened? I can see myself doing that a lot. Hey, y'all just go ahead and fight. I'm gonna go hunt some fish.
Well, that's what I mean. There's yeah. I mean, it's a PVX game, so I mean, you say that, but I don't know. I'm just curious, what other ways you think we could solve wars.
Bake
Sorry, I'm
some
doing a lot
bread.
of reading. Um, but we'll get to find out soon enough, I guess. There was a interesting comment about instance content. What do you think about that? If there was a component of this that was instanced and not,
For wars?
yeah.
I guess that kind of brings me back to the idea of a fort in between, but then it would have to have an area that's specifically sectioned off for it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just a thought. I think I would definitely prefer, if we're getting flagged and everything else that's sort of occurring, that it just be out in the, out in the open.
Yeah, I don't know. I can understand instancing to try to limit the amount of players that are involved and to commit the necessary resources for the sort of thing that you're offering, as well as to limit the actual area that the players are playing in. But I don't know. It seems like you'd be like signing up at a book in town and then walking out to a point, midway between the two, and then suddenly you can join a queue to enter the battle.
Well, I'm wondering now how much of nodes we will see during the node wars, not the nose wars, but the node wars demo. How many nodes will we see? How much of them? Like,
What do you mean?
will it
How
just
many?
be? Will it just be the fighting? Will he just flip say, hey, you can make these 5 choices and the rest of it is fighting?
Yeah, I don't know. Are we going to see them go between like Winstead and Stevensburg or something?
Stevensburg.
What was the other town that
Sandaltown.
they've been using? Sandtown?
I just
Yeah,
made that up.
Sandaltown.
That
Now, like Sandaltown, actually, that makes sense for like.
yeah, I
a
made that
beach
up. I'm not giving
community.
anything away there. So
Uh-huh.
just to be clear,
Hey, you heard it in a demo. You heard it in a live stream. It's okay.
no, I'll be damned if there is going to be a Sandaltown and I just got in trouble. So,
No, that'd be great if it's actually in the Tulnar area. It's like, nope, we wear sandals here.
Mhm,
Look at the paws. They don't go in boots.
mhm.
and then what about, if you have a trading partner in another node that's not attached but is nearby? What do you think about allies coming in? So I declare war against you, Neuro, and your node, and I'm bringing Diggs with me. Now he and his node did not declare war on you, but should they? How much interference should they be allowed to run with me? Do you think
If
it's
they
just full on? I
party
mean,
up,
it's PVX, so
if they party up with people from your side, they can help advance the objectives. If they're not, then they're of a different allegiance, and so they would just need to do the normal flagging process.
Yeah.
just curious. Can just more of
But
a
that's
curiosity.
pretty much what I would expect it to be. Like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
if they're partied up with somebody who's flagged for war, expect them to be flagged for war. And
Mhm.
likewise, if you've got a buddy that's flagged for war that's helping you accomplish stuff, even if they're from a different node, that they are helping you make progress.
I would think it would
So,
include allies and people in a party.
yeah.
Your allies and the people in your party are basically considered, you know, on your side of the war.
I mean, again, assuming this
Oh,
is go ahead.
Nick R has that one. If you have an ally node through trading, they're in the war. The wiki says allies included.
Yeah. So I would
Be
think that
fun.
would also extend to a party.
It'll be a lot of fun. I think I've been searching for something different. I haven't started playing EverQuest. What the hell's wrong with me? But
Hmm.
Smite.
Supposed to be playing EverQuest 2.
Yeah, I am, aren't I? I don't know.
Might be over now.
No, actually, there was 9 weeks, and then it's going to release. That's part of why it was still in an open beta. I don't know. I have a hard time doing these because there was what else? There was 2 other games. 33 Immortals was another one that I started playing this week.
Oh, how is that? I got the key, but I haven't jumped in yet.
That's good. It's fun. It's good. It's just one of those things you put in a couple hours, and it's like, all right, this is gonna go away. Like, why? How much more time do I really want to put into this?
What? It's not a gachapon style, is it?
No.
Okay,
This
good. Because they
nonsense.
sent an email with a character with like the 5 stars over their head, and it's like, oh god, what am I getting into now? That's terrible. But no, it turns out that's not the case, and so I'm relieved to hear that.
So while we have some time,
have
cutscenes.
some time. Well, cutscenes.
Yes, that is the
Cutscenes is good.
that is the dev question. Well, one of them, right? Cutscenes. I don't remember the exact wording. I can find it real quick. Somewhere. Oh, when it comes to cutscenes, what entices you to not skip them? Tell us about your favorites and what makes them unique. Diggs plays a lot of World of Warcraft, so you get a lot of cutscenes.
I love cutscenes because I'm trying to do a story experience, and I want the experience to be like I'm in a movie or a TV show. So if I can get cutscenes, especially with my character in them, that's awesome. Preferably if I could get my character and some friends' characters in them too. That's even better. But yeah, anything that can make the game feel more like a movie than a game, I'm all for it.
Nero?
Sorry, could you state the question again?
Yeah, it was.
Cutscenes.
Yeah, when it comes to cutscenes, what entices you not to skip them? Tell us about your favorites and what makes them unique.
Okay. I wanted to make sure I'm answering the question correctly. So, what makes me not skip them is if they have content in them, if they have important content in them in particular, if it's just a really cool ass cutscene because you're, maybe loading into an instance and they want to show you like that video game style camera tour through the golf course sort of thing while you're waiting to get started. Things like that. That's great. Just something that potentially is being used to change the settings of a battle. For example, in something instance or perhaps even open world, you get a boss to a certain point, and what happens is things break out into a cutscene. Sure, you can still control your character. It's going to be a little awkward because you're seeing them from a camera from the distance. And what happens is you see the thing that you were fighting go down, and it looks like it's dying or something. But then out through its skin, all this like orange crystally stuff starts emerging, and it becomes this giant corrupted ancient creature or whatever version. And while that's going on, you can try to kind of reposition yourself, and nobody's going to be able to take damage. Perhaps everybody gets a free full like heal and top off and everything, and maybe some sort of buff for beating the first phase. And then it cuts back to normal gameplay camera. Like that seems cool. That seems reasonable. But that's more of just a camera shot. That's not actually like a full-on cutscene.
Yeah, I mean,
It's hard to put them in the open world because you'd have to give the player full safety.
I guess I don't think of it that way.
Well, if you're in the middle of a cutscene and I start beating on you, like, are you just gonna,
I mean, they do that and I'm trying to think of how they prevent that because they do it in World of Warcraft. but I don't know what the character's doing when the cutscene is playing. Um, yeah, I don't want to be able to control my character. I want the game to control my character during the cutscene. And my favorite cutscene probably of all time right now was probably Diablo 4, the opening, where you leave the character creator and then um, your character wakes up and hears a noise and something attacks them, and then they get up and they get on a horse and they ride into a cave or something like that. There's a whole thing, and I was like, my character looks awesome, and it's moving around like it's in a movie. Like, it makes me feel like I'm really in the story, in a way that I can't even do all those emotes with my character. Um, so I love that when it seems like my character's actually a part of the scene, and it seems like the dev curated NPCs are really interacting with me, and I'm a part of their story. And again, if I can get teammates or group mates in there as well, moving around, and it feels like we're all in this story, that's like awesome for me. I'd also like to have tons more emotes and, be able to make my general gameplay look more realistic, but I think we aren't there yet.
I
Yeah,
don't think I
cutscenes.
have a favorite cutscene. If I had to say what's the closest, it would probably be one of the ones from Quantum Break, which is like, wait, this cutscene is literally live action. God damn it, Lance Reddick is in this too. That guy was in everything. He was amazing.
What's the name of it?
Quantum
Quantum?
Break. It was one of the ones from Remedy, the same ones that made Control, which, like, both of those games are just truly, like, cinematic quality. Could spin an entire Hollywood series off of it and actually get it done right. They make fantastic games. They are very much cinematic experiences. Alan Wake series too. That's them too. Same universe as Control.
Yeah, I'm sitting here
Fun
trying to
stuff.
remember cutscenes that I've been through before. In general, I will watch them the first time. Um, I will very much not like having to watch them over and over and over again. So I would prefer and love to have a skip button when appropriate. But yeah, I usually will watch the first time through. I'm just learning about SWOTOR here. I had no idea that you actually get to pick as a group uh, from the cutscene the direction you take. I love that idea. I actually just even like the idea of being able to see my character in the cutscene and then use my name, which is pretty standard now. But way back, that wasn't the case. They had a sort of generic looking character, which is nice. But I do not want mandatory cutscenes. I certainly would love to be able to just skip. Yeah, I'm still sitting here. I think I put in chat Xenoblade Chronicles 2 sticks out. They had a really good ending one.
Mm.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be able to captivate me probably 4 or 5 times. Like I was saying in the forums for battle passes, I'll play completely through an MMORPG like 4 or 5 times, 4 or 5 different characters. Once I'm completely through with 4 or 5 characters, I'm done. But my characters would be different enough that I'd want to see their specific version of being in that story, what they're wearing, and all that stuff all feels different to me in a way that I'd want to watch it. But yeah, eventually I'd probably want to skip,
All
especially
right.
if I have any mules. If I have some mules, I'd want to skip for the mules too.
So I want to ask. I know we're at 9, but I just did you have something else, Neuro?
I can stay for a while. I was actually gonna say, I don't remember where I stopped on the Q&A, my notes on it and stuff, but I was just ready to start from the bottom and start working back up. And when it starts sounding familiar, we're kind of done on it. We got through
Hey,
most of it, I think. But what
Yeah,
were you gonna say? Go for it. I can
we
be
ended
here
up
for a
jumping around
while.
a bit. This just came up in a Discord chat about multi-boxing. So we, like I said, I jumped into EverQuest with Royer and hopefully Stick Queen as well. But there was a huge queue to get in. It was like I jumped in just fine today.
187.
Yeah, it was
187. Did I hear?
150 plus minutes to get in. Of course, the original EverQuest servers hold less, so that's why. But you jump in, and like I saw today, like people running around with 4 different mages with their pets out, and clearly like 3 of them following one person, going to go just roll through the content. What do you think about multi-boxing? So I think what
I'm
we've been
pretty
told so
sure he's
far.
already said he's okay with it. If you've got the resources, go ahead.
Think that's
Yeah,
the way I generally feel too. Like if you can control all of them, maybe go for it. But I mean, I think most people won't do it, so I'm not super concerned about it. I don't know, as long as they're
that
not bots.
that's been the key. I think what we've been told, this has come up, was if you own separate accounts on separate computers, you're not using any sort of software to relay commands, then they're generally fine with it. But do you think that ruins the experience? I it was kind of painful seeing like groups of five characters today running around, taking all of the, killing everything. Clearly,
It's
one
all
person.
it's already ruined for me because people don't actually RP anymore. You don't need to talk to anybody in the game because everybody has the exact same experience. There's no reason to, um, right? I don't have to ask you where anything is because everybody, I mean, like everybody's played through it before. Um, hopefully Ashes would be different since it's a dynamic world. I'm hoping the fact that it's a dynamic world, people will be communicating more. Like you'll jump in and you'll be like, "Oh, what the fuck happened to that city that was over there 2 weeks ago? Been gone for 2 weeks, and the map looks totally different. Where do I go to get XXX?" Right? I hope that you have to talk to people um, more, and think. I don't think enough people will be able to multi-box in Ashes for it to make much of a difference.
Yeah, my comment was that hopefully the big difference here is as a PvX game and having the ability just to kill somebody. Um, I would imagine, if you're legit trying to harvest something, I don't know, you're out trying to get certain type of ore, and you see someone running up on you with like 4 accounts just running by. I imagine there's going to be a lot of people that will probably take it upon themselves to intervene. Um, I personally would feel fine with turning red for that. I think that would be so. I think there will be some justice in that way that will probably prevent a lot of multi-boxing in Ashes. But I don't know. We'll see. There's some very crafty abilities, especially when you start adding commands and different macros. So
I want to say one of the fun things for me, talking with Niker, I think in general is because our play styles are so different, and just trying to understand what his play style is. But as we were talking through, I think I got this kind of right. But it seems like when he's playing games, he's really playing to explore all the game mechanics. And so that's going to keep him playing longer than I will. Like he said, I think he said that he tries to go through all the permutations of classes and he wants to check out all the weapons and all this stuff. Whereas I'm really trying to play the story. And I think it was fascinating for me for like with Phantom. Phantom played one character in Nightingale and he was like, okay, I'm done. And in the same time, I had 2 going, and I wanted to see what the quest dialogue is going to be different for my female character and how I'm playing her differently than my male character. And when I go back through those quest dialogues, I'm making different choices based on their personalities, and I want to see if that's going to make the story different. Um, so it was just interesting just to see how our playstyle differences alter
Yeah,
our perceptions playing the same game.
yeah. I don't really do alts unless I'm forced to. So if I, if it's something, World of Warcraft, EverQuest 2, you can only craft certain, you can only be a certain type of crafter. And so if I'm really focused on being a do everything crafter, okay, then I'll make an alt so that I can pick up either a different type of harvesting or something like that. Which comes into play here. Now, as detailed or as difficult as we've been told things like these will be, I don't know that I'll ever even have the time to pursue an alt. But that's usually, that's usually when I'll do an alt. I don't really get into being an altaholic, because I know you like to. I might also do it just to experience different classes, but even that's kind of rare. I don't go out of my way to make like 9 characters to experience every single class.
I would imagine by the time we're done with alpha and beta, you'll have a pretty good idea of what you want your character to be. Because we'll probably have played everything and had every access to it all with all the wipes that'll be going on and such. There'll be constant opportunities to change it on up. And
All right.
as their knowledge increases, be able to potentially make different choices should that sort of thing make any difference to you.
Well, again, the nice thing for me is that if the world is dynamic, I should always be interested in exploring and see how things are different. Even once if I get to a place where I'm able to uncover the entire map, once I start again, it should be different, and there should be new stuff to look at. So,
Yeah, I get you on that one. No Dig's character crosses the same river twice because both his character is different and the river is different, sort of thing.
Ship of Theseus, is it?
Sorry, I'm
That's a different
processing.
sort of thing.
Processing
Anyway.
people here saying that I look like a rogue ranger based off what I'm saying.
Wait, but no, that's what I'm probably gonna play.
I am interested in
Rogue
the
Ranger, Rogue. It's
Ranger.
whichever one has the best mobility between the two. It's like mobility first and then good with a bow. So that's kind of what I'm hoping, is that Rogue Ranger will allow me to do my rogue attacks with the bow from a distance. And it's like, aha! Assassinate you.
Yeah, I am interested in Ranger. I would like to try to make a Ranger that feels kind of more traditional EQ style Ranger. So we'll see if that's possible or not. But I guess would probably me taking Ranger main / cleric, I guess, as a secondary would probably make that feel more.
Will your choice will true stealth versus camouflage make a difference?
A lot.
No,
Camouflage.
no, not really.
Like, if you have a choice, which will you go for?
I don't know.
Camouflage?
I mean,
Okay.
I don't
All
really
right.
care.
All right.
Depends. So, all right, we can go back to the questions.
All right. So I'm going to go from the bottom up. So looks like they... Actually, no, this isn't from the questions. This is from the AMA.
Yes. I thought that's what you meant. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The average Varen common folk don't have as much ability to channel essence as players and special NPCs. Some people could channel it, but have no training, so they don't do it. So that's the explanation for some people can respawn and some people don't, or something like that. And why some people can like channel the essence and be one of the 8 heroic classes or archetypes or whatever. Now there was some stuff. I'm gonna kind of group some things together here. Tank, Ranger, Fighter, Mage, Bard, Cleric. Those will be the ones that are available at launch. So the Summoner and the Rogue will not be available. I don't mean launch. I mean the beginning of Alpha 2. Launch. Alpha 2 is launch. No, I'm kidding. At the start of Alpha 2, we will not have rogues, we won't have summoners. They'll come along as, things come along. And that's fine. What do you guys think about that? Is that okay with you that we get 6 out of 8 off the
6 out of
bat
8.
instead of 3?
6 out of 8 what?
6 out of 8 archetypes. Because we
Oh,
don't
I
get
mean,
summoner and rogue at the
Makes
start.
sense.
So, 6 is pretty good.
Yeah.
no, I'm more concerned about the nodes than I am the node types than I am the archetypes. 6 is good enough to start.
It's a lot better than I thought. I thought we were just gonna get like a tank cleric and like
Oh,
maybe
I hope
mage
not
or
after
something. No, they
7
said
years.
they've
I know.
declared that it's
I'm
gonna be
just
that
saying.
sick. So I'm happy about that.
Makes
Um,
sense. I mean that they would include the bard over the rogue. I mean you already have DPS, so you're right. If you're testing a group makeup, it's probably more important to get support in than just another DPS component.
Well, I
So,
mean, my concern about Rogue is that um, we were supposed to see Rogue in Alpha 1, and it didn't make it. So
it'll come in at some point in Alpha 2.
that was 3 years ago. Yeah, okay, but I'm just saying that was 3 years ago.
Mhm.
So what kind of problems are they having with it that it was supposed to be ready for Alpha 1 at some point, and then we still haven't seen it.
I get the feeling they wanted to focus more on the ones that we're seeing for one thing, and for the other that I don't know if they actually know the balance that they've narrowed in on how the rogue will fit with everybody else. They have some ideas, but maybe want to see how people play with the existing archetypes first before trying to affirm whether or not the rogue will fill the roles in the way that they are intended to, and not end up being clunky and we need a revision immediately. So, could be those, could be whatever. Um, it'll get there.
then I imagine summoner is just a very I would assume it's probably one of the more complicated of all of them, and so wanting to make sure that that's done just right. You're making a
Mhm.
face. Why are you making a face?
Yeah, I'm just even, their ability to even make a summoner. I mean, I'm skeptical at the moment. Um, they can't even get the Dunir in again after 3 years. So, what they're able to do that's different than a regular MMORPG that we've already seen is kind of, um, I'm very skeptical at the moment. So, I'm very interested to see what they're able to do. I'm just looking at. I just pulled it up. I'm just looking at that live stream from 5 years ago, 2018, almost 6 years ago, I guess, where Steven says in there, yeah, I'm so surprised by how far we've come so quickly. And, we have these other MMORPGs and they're in development for like 5 or 6 years. And I'm just like, come on. Like, okay, now
I
you
think
see where you're at.
it's been pointed out. We did see a summoner NPC, so clearly
Oh yeah, we'll
there
probably
are
see
things there.
NPC
So
versions of both of them, but it's the playable versions that
Yeah.
players are always more crafty than the NPCs, so you know. So after that, there was a little bit they said about Grandmaster crafting stations are very limited in availability. Crafters can use Grandmaster stations everywhere. They don't have to be a citizen. You still gotta cart your resources over. Risk reward.
sorry, what? What did we just?
I don't know.
Um,
You threw me out
that
too with tune twisting. Tune
Grandmaster
twisting, go ahead.
crafting stations are
Uh,
going to be very limited in
yeah,
availability.
that
But
makes sense.
crafters, yeah, anybody can use them. You don't have to be a citizen to use it. Though there might be reasons you might want to be a citizen to use it. I don't know. Depends
I
on your
mean,
business.
that makes sense. And each node is going to have, I assume, you're going to have different grandmaster craftings. I mean, they should be rare, the stations themselves, I guess, based off the choices that the mayor makes. But it makes sense not to limit it to just citizens.
One thing that I did not understand previously that came up in the forums this past week is that crafting stations themselves are limited to a node. So a node may not have all the um,
Mm-mm.
stations available,
No,
and
they
you could
shouldn't.
even you could even have a node that's specializing specifically in blacksmithing, such that
Mm-hmm.
blacksmithing is almost the only type of crafting station in them.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah, and we've seen some of those trees, some of those decision trees already when they went through it during their live stream, and it's very detailed and complex, like even to the point of like one-handed blunt, two-handed blunt, like so you certainly should not expect every node to have every crafting station, especially grandmaster crafting stations. Those things are going to be, I think, pretty rare. So in some ways, I imagine a lot of crafters, if you're not heavily into whoever the group is that is running the node, so you're not a part of that guild or whatever, you probably will choose your home based off what you want to craft and where those crafting stations are. But it
yeah,
makes
and
sense.
also people were asking why do we do a siege, and I was saying, well, racial progression is one reason because you have 9 races and you only have 5 metros, and if you don't have a metro that is controlled by your race and therefore you can't finish your racial progression, you might need to destroy one of those and try and get a metro that your race can control. But that's the other thing with crafting stations. If you don't have a node on there with your level of crafting station that you need, you might need to go make one, and that might mean
Yeah.
that there has to be a siege.
And then
So
also, as Stephen put it, the hard part's in the transporting of goods. I mean, that's what's going to drive the whole process of PvP and node change too. So it makes sense for what their goals are that you would not restrict um, the crafting stations. So I want to stop here real quick because everybody's kind of like tune twisting. What's going on? What's that about? So in original EverQuest, the Bard. Um, there were so many wonderful things about EverQuest. Bard was one of them. It was a peak support class. I'm amazed that no one has ever tried to redo it in a modern version, but essentially as a bard, you had songs, and as you played a song, it would give some sort of benefit. So you could have a health regen or a mana regen or something with combat speed or even just speed of your run speed. Each song had a different benefit. And the unique part about it was when you canceled that song, the benefit actually persisted for for several seconds afterwards. So it wasn't like you stopped playing the song and then, no more health regen. It kept going for a little bit. So you could get into this. That's why they called it tune twisting. Now you would only be able to do so many songs at a time, but you could just keep start, stop, start, stop, start, stop. And so you could keep up 3 or 4 different benefits all at the same time while you're playing. So that was tune twisting. Complex, complicated, but a amazingly fun way to play. So
Interesting.
yeah, I said the best I ever saw was Think 5. Yeah, you did have a max. Yeah, 5 would have been super hard. You would have been just a constant button push. Just that's all you'd be doing. Yeah. But if you did it really well, and this is, when I think support, that's what I think of as original support classes, is that sort of original bard. Um, if you did it well, you were super beneficial to your group. Like you were very important to have. So
Yep. Yeah. No, that's yeah. Interesting. I wonder what sort of things we'll see with the bard here when we get to see the bard. The weapon configurations have been announced. So there's one-handed mace, one-handed sword, wand, spellbook, longbow, short bow, two-handed sword, two-handed spear, dual wield daggers. Now, anything that isn't in that list, we'll still see weapons of those types. Their attribute blocks will just be done similar to one of the groups that does exist. I don't believe they said staff.
For now, it'll probably look like a staff and be similar to wand, I think.
And then, so each one of those is the categories that will have their own weapon tree.
Spec. Mm-hmm.
It isn't dual wield daggers, it's just straight up dual wield. If you're using daggers, it's daggers. If you're using one-handed swords, or you're using one-handed maces, or a sword and a mace, hey, it's all covered by dual wielding. Now, that's interesting though to me that that daggers have been called out as a type of weapon you can advance with, but not along the lines of everything else. So I'm wondering if right now daggers count as a one-handed sword if you use them one-handed. Otherwise, they're just dual wield if you use them dual wield. So, they might exist as a dagger, but you're not actually, quote, dual wielding daggers. You're dual wielding one-handed weapons that fit a certain category. If you've got axes, they're probably going to be they might be maces, they might be swords, depending how they want to classify the damage type. But eventually they'll fill it in, and everything will have their own trees. Now with shields, and I would imagine sigils and whatever other offhand defensive items that you may have, that is not actually going to have its own independent tree. Those instead will be part of the general tree, not part of an archetype tree, to improve your blocking or parry or whatever defense that it's going to be. So if you want to really spec into active blocking or active dodging, you would be able to invest points in, but some of it might come from things your archetype specifically offers that synergize with that type of equipment. And then the other part of it is just the common pool stuff that anybody can juice into, because everybody's allowed to use a shield if they want to. Should they? Maybe not. Can they? Yeah, sure. So that'll be a oh, and that was the other thing. Thanks for Niker bringing that one up. That you have to craft a recipe with a dual wield property to it in order to be able to dual wield it. So perhaps all daggers have that by default, but you have to use certain resources or do something specially in order to make other one-handed weapons work in that way. So that'll be interesting to see where the tools and limitations and means and all of that are going to be. I don't particularly plan to dual wield unless I'm playing an archetype that specializes in it.
An answer. I was going to type this out, but I'll just verbally for Demon Hunter 1. This list is for the weapon types that have a fleshed out skill tree associated with them. So
Right.
for things like staffs, you might still have that in the game. So you might still be able to have a staff that your character is holding. Um, but it would not have its weapon skill tree fleshed out yet. So what you might have the staff, and it might have, I don't know, I'm just making this up. Maybe it has wands skill tree associated with it. So that's what this list is just the weapon types that actually have the skill tree.
Anything anybody wants to say about weapon types before we move to something else?
Nope.
I just can't wait to have my Templar with a shield and a book.
Book and a shield. Book and a shield.
Yeah.
Diggs, you're gonna
Excellent.
have nothing. You're gonna have like a walking stick.
Can you hold all that?
What was that?
Can you hold all that? A book and a shield and a walking stick?
No, I was asking you, Diggs, if you're gonna have a walking
Oh.
stick.
I don't know because I don't need a weapon. So who
Well,
knows?
don't attack anything with it, but you can still hold like a gnarled branch or
Yeah, I
something.
know. I don't know what would be available. So we'll see.
All right.
Where would I put it on my Stufferton?
It would just
I have to
hang out
get
in
one of
your
those.
hand. You
I have
can
to get
use
one
it
of
to
those
point to
somehow.
things.
Yeah, a white flag. Sorry.
Yeah, oh, that would
hilarious.
be the best. That would be the
That's awesome.
best.
Okay, I'm gonna have to mute
All right,
myself for a
I
second.
might actually have to ask people who work on the project to make that happen.
Mhm.
um, but yeah, bow is what I intend to use, and then outside of that, I'm kind of wondering if there's viability for being a dual wield rogue. That's kind of been an interesting thing. Is it or not a not a excuse me, not a dual wield rogue, a two-handed user using a two-handed weapon?
That's a great question that Demon Hunter just flagged in my head. Pardon the pun. About cosmetics.
Well, I
I
don't
don't know.
think
Are
they're
we
going to
gonna
do
have
that one. They have
cosmetics
a
in? No, I'm saying, are we gonna have cosmetics at the start of Alpha 2?
good question, but
I'm thinking
when
not. I was not expecting them, but that would be interesting if they tried to
yeah,
throw some of those in at the start.
I don't
Hmm.
expect they're going to have them. If they do, though, I don't think they'll allow you to use a cosmetic that makes a weapon look like a different weapon unless they don't put that limitation on while axes and swords and daggers all count as the same type of weapon, for example. They might allow it then, but by and large, they want things to be semi-representative. They want heavy armor to look like heavy armor, medium to look medium, light to look light. They want the silhouettes and the imagery and visuals and stuff to have a certain sort of feel and patterning to them, so you can tell roughly what you're getting up against and what the person's wearing when you see them. And so, to that extent, they're gonna want that with weapons and shields and stuff as well. That they initially made it sound like any skin could go on any mount, but then eventually they pulled back and said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! It's going to be a skin that matches that like size and class of mount, for example." So you're not going to be able to put a walking squid on a horse, for example. They're going to have
Or
two completely different, or like the sea turtle or whatever. You wouldn't be able to put
all right, that's interesting.
horse skin
Yeah,
on it.
yeah.
So that's some of the stuff that they're trying to do to make sure. Yeah, you can apply your skins on anything, but it has to be of a certain category. So yeah, no, I don't think they would really do that.
Yeah. I was just saying ESO and everything. Nothing is what it seems. You can see someone in heavy armor, but yeah, they're not going to let you. I don't imagine Steven will let you completely misrepresent what you're actually carrying or wearing. Especially in such a, with PvP being such an important component. I don't think that would ever happen. So, but yeah,
That said, I imagine a lot of people will be wearing combinations of light, medium, and heavy.
Yeah. Or that, yes, or if that's possible, yeah, there will be some way for us to know visually what that person, well, I guess unless they're stealthed or camouflaged, what's going on, just to prepare you for battle. So, I think that question's been asked though, like, can't we, in the past, like, are we going to be able to disguise ourselves? It wasn't like a yes. I don't think it was ever given a no either. So I don't know.
And then the other side of things is whether you're wearing your combat attire or your crafting attire, because it sounded like those are two differently representative sets that they want people to be displaying based on the actions they're taking.
How do you feel that you won't be able to inspect gear of others? I'm disappointed. I understand the reasoning, but that is just something I've kind of grown used to. You see something cool, right? And you don't know the person, so you just sort of like, let me inspect you.
There's a role play element to it that I like. That you have to
Sounds
ask
good.
the person, and you also have to take their word for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get the reasons.
One of the things that I hate about MMORPGs in the last 15 years is people ninja whispering you to join their group, and I'm like, you can't even say hello and buy me a drink first? Like, where are you? Like, you're way across, I don't even know, and you're just sending me a whisper to come hang out? And I'm like, no, walk up to me. Let's get a handshake. Let's go have a beer, something. Get to know me first before you're just like,
Get to know me first. They did that
I'm
in
not that
EverQuest,
easy.
actually.
I'm
Yesterday,
not that easy.
I got a random tell. Hey, you want to join a guild? My initial
Mhm,
instinct was kind of similar. Like, who the fuck are you? Like,
mhm,
I don't know what you're
mhm,
like.
mhm,
I don't even know who you
mhm,
are,
mhm,
where you are. But then I thought,
mhm,
you know what? I said, all right. And the guild name is Drunk. So makes sense.
mhm.
I'm in a guild called Drunk. So
Drunk. You're drunk.
I might have an alt that lives in a tavern and doesn't move out. I was planning to have something like that in Revival. Like just the town
That's
drunk
fun.
just hangs out in front of the tavern.
So the next one. Freeholds are difficult to attain, so what about guild freeholds? Yes. A guild freehold is not a finite piece of shareable space, or I don't know why I wrote it like that. A guild freehold, the guild hall, is able to be surrounded by small plots for members to be able to do more of this and that and utilize more of the freehold system in that way. So if you're not able to get access to a freehold by other means, but you've got a guild that's got a guild hall and you want to set up a certain sort of facility that isn't available in the area or that is profitable and lucrative, but you can only do it on a freehold to really be able to reap the benefits of it, then you can do that and you can take on that little enterprise for the guild and have that as something that you're able to manage and help contribute. I could very well see guilds that they're not even there as like a main guild sort of thing. They're actually somebody's alt guild that just goes there and builds the guild hall and the stations. So whenever they go and visit that place, they know they've got all of the crafting stations, at least up to a certain level of quality, over by the guild hall. That's like one potential use, because if everybody's able to use the crafting facilities like that, That could be a potential way to make it so they don't have to go as far to deal with certain levels of processing and crafting. So, I can see a lot of utility in that for like the big whale guilds.
But you have to be level 50 before you can get that.
Well, whales can multi-box their guild 2's leader.
No, I'm just saying. So that the leader would have to be someone in the guild would have to be level 50. Is that what we're thinking?
Yeah.
Okay.
That'll happen quick.
So, what do you guys think about the idea of the guild freehold having the guild hall having little freeholds?
Yeah.
Radiating out from it.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, in principle, it's a great thing, right? Because I think everybody. I was, and I think right, you're in chat. You're going to disagree with me on this because we disagree on this. That's okay. I felt like when I talked to Steven, I was told many years ago that if I did the work, I would get a freehold. Everyone did. I took that literally. I didn't take that to mean if I had enough money, I could buy one. I took that to mean that if I put in the time and the effort, and I'm not saying that I shouldn't, that I would get a freehold. And then we sort of kind of were all brought to more reality of, well, space is limited. There's actually going to be very few. And it makes sense. So this helps, I think, offset that a little bit. Yeah, time and effort gets you gold. That's true, but that's again that's not the spirit of the question I asked when we talked to him about this. But having this option is good. I think hopefully, I don't know if Theory Forge Guild will be able to have something like this or not. I wonder if you can also give allies. So if we're a smaller guild, but we're allied to a larger guild, and they have this ability to give guild freeholds, can they also give them to allies? I'd be curious to see that as well. I think that would make sense if you had allied guilds that were very interested in I don't know, processing or something, whatever, to let them have some freehold space.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Sublet some guild lots. Yeah.
I think I was expecting freeholds to be somewhat limited by space, just because there's. I think we got that idea just from homes in general for how many open world homes there could be, and um, uh, just open world housing. So I think I don't know that I was expecting everybody could have one, just like everybody cannot own a house. Um, and there's going to be some instance departments and all that stuff, but I did think it was going to be more available than what we recently heard when he was saying that you have to be level 50 to get there. And that being said, um I was thinking this past week, I am kind of concerned about how limited building, like player building, is in Ashes compared to other MMORPGs that will be out there, other MMOs, I guess, in general, other games where you can build your own home, and it's kind of easy to do. It's not as complicated as voxels. When you have something a little bit more robust than Valheim, when you have something like the building that's available in PAX Day, where each person can kind of go out and build what they want. You can build the city that you want instead of it kind of being built on its own. It seems like it's going to be kind of obsolete, the building style in Ashes by the time it releases, compared to, I don't know, obsolete and restricted, compared to other no, I'm talking in chat it says Valheim isn't an MMO. I don't mean the available space. I'm just talking about the way you are able to build. which you can now do in PAX Day. You can now do that in Nightingale.
Yeah, well, that's
No,
features
they
of
didn't
those
promise it.
games.
Yeah, they didn't promise it. I'm saying, but that's now available. It wasn't even available when in 2017 we weren't building like that. But now it's common to. So I'm just wondering. I'm concerned about that because at the time in 2017, I thought that I was not a builder because I don't know how to do voxels. Um, and as of the last year, I'm realizing I'm a pretty good builder, if depending on the style, and I wouldn't want to do that. So um, I'm just wondering.
Well, that's the thing is that building with voxels, building in Nightingale or Valheim, those they're entirely different beasts to the size and scope and scale of MMOs, or even like Arc or Atlas or whatever. Um,
Oh, but we have
I,
PAX
I
Day.
PAX Day is gonna be an interesting one. It makes me think of how people play Eco, where they're actually trying to build communities and work together. And so, that's a different sort of game to build everything from the ground up versus having some sorts of systems of tools and automation and limitations in order to facilitate a narrative system, because it doesn't matter how big we build our group build in Nightingale, it isn't going to bring NPCs to it. It isn't going to bring new quest opportunities. It's not going to change the area whatsoever outside of what we do to touch it and the enjoyment we get out of it. So I think of those as being a different sort of beast, because what we're getting with the node system in exchange for not being able to control what we put where is that we get this curated system that has strong narrative elements that are hooked to it and dependent upon it. And part of the way that we actually see the variation in the game is having things uh, follow, different paths and go in different ways. Different choices are made. Things are resolved in different manners, and the permanent changes that may occur. All of that sort of stuff. Um, it requires the node system. If something like PAX Day had that level of narrative content coming from what's being built, I can see how I would maybe smell some blood in the water for Ashes, but it's not. They're different. If you build in PAX Day, you find some small piece of apocryphal lore that's in a fixed place in the world, and you and your friends decide to build your entire civilization around three half legible sentences and a hat hanging on a wall, then that's awesome. But that was just one clue. That's just one piece of a puzzle that can lead on to other events. Building there isn't going to advance that narrative at all, other than maybe people being more interested in investigating the thing and seeing what it might lead to. But you didn't need to build a metropolis out of the area to execute that. So that's where I say the system works. And let's just see one game do something like this first and see how it goes before we kind of judge um, how the building system is going to work. Compare, like I don't disagree with you. There are potentially ways, like potentially even with Landmark, the ability to build up your little voxel home in what the hell is that world, Norath, and be able to kind of customize it on a very high level. Yeah, that would have been great. I would have loved to have seen that technology work. And yeah, if they wanted to make it where players are given lots, and the more they build up and the more they put in certain facilities, the bigger the place's influence grows, and that sort of stuff. Sure, that'd be awesome. Or even if it did a Terraria sort of thing where you can build your part of the home and then you just build a few more areas and NPCs can move in because you've made a viable living space and made available to NPCs. Like that, that's a way to start building it up. Eventually in Starbound, you can get a pretty active little civilization going. Just build out of scratch. We had that going with the Dope Crew playthrough. It was fun. Sky Garden and everything. It was great. So, that's my kind of argument for the building being okay for the system because it's part of a narrative driven and limit requiring system for the economics and gameplay of it all.
We've talked about this before. I don't think, I just don't think Ash's target audience includes people who like to just build and build like that. Certainly
Yeah,
not
but
voxels.
my point about that though is those people who want to play on PvE servers and were thinking they were going to have to compromise because Ashes was going to be the next MMORPG out. They don't have to compromise anymore. They can go to PAX Day and do the stuff they want to do without having to be worried about PvP at all. It's definitely a different audience, but that's kind of my point. Prior to 2020, we would have had to compromise and say, "Oh my gosh, there's nothing to play. What am I going to play?" Between 2017 and 2020, and I guess Ashes is the next big thing, and okay, I don't really want a PvP, but that's all that's going to be there. I guess I'll have to try it. Now you just have other options, and it's not going to be, the audience is not as big as the target audience is not as big as I once thought in 2017. So I'm just saying, I just realized there's another group, the builders, who won't have to compromise to play Ashes. So Ashes now seems more niche to me than it did. That's kind of my concern.
Well, it's certainly an interesting point. I do think it has become more niche, yet they still have what 200,000, or we think 200,000 Alpha 2 people. That's not super niche.
I mean,
That's
considering that I'm in that group, I mean, it still kind of is.
Yeah, but I always say we are unique. Any of the content creators should not be looked at as representative of the whole.
No, no, no.
We
My point is that how many people have paid for a package does not necessarily mean those people are still planning to play.
Yeah, I'm
That's how
just
many
pointing out
people
it's an interesting
bought a package.
scenario to see how it all plays out. So
So there was one that was kind of funny to me. It was the one about risk reward. Will risk of death from being PK'd lead to Zerg world bosses? And the answer was kind of funny. It was like, yeah, maybe, but like rewards are finite. Not everyone's going to get something just because you beat a boss. Nobody gets individualized loot. Just because you beat a boss doesn't mean you're going to get shit for it. So that's one of the other things with the risk reward of joining a group and doing a boss battle. Unless you're the one who's able to grab it and they don't mobilize you for it, whoever accesses it first, or whoever has the rights to access it first, they're going to take the goods. And so I don't know if they're going to be able to take everything. If it's something where like 5 or 6 people are able to grab stuff off of a boss, and then it's going to be time to skin it and run. But that's something that I think is a little interesting, that you might almost need to have faith in the group to actually reward you, unless you're willing to have the experience and whatever is now marked and added on your account for having beaten a world boss that will follow your character's history in the future, and that's its reward. And then oh well, you didn't get any resources this time, that sucks, maybe next boss. That's Yeah. I don't know if there's like a master loot system. There are, I believe, limitations on who would be able to touch the boss first after after it dies to get loot off of it. But
Yeah. I don't know. This answer felt weird. It was like, okay, that's just how it always used to be. Like this was EverQuest. This
yeah,
was original
exactly.
WoW. Like I don't know how that stops a Zerg. Like your expectations are just different. Like you're going to have to do multiple Zergs to get multiple DKP to be able to bid on what's there. I don't know that there's really a dilution effect.
Well, to me, it's the idea that you go and you tap that body and you've grabbed it or whatever, and you're the one who is exclusively allowed to look at the loot right now. How does it go from that window to making sure everybody gets the things that they're supposed to get? Now, they said a lot of things are not supposed to be bind on pickup. And so it could be that you're supposed to grab all of it to the best extent you can and then try to distribute it later, or I don't know. I mean, yeah, there's different
Yeah.
Oh, Niker, you're saying that there is actually limitation in the stuff, that it isn't just whoever tapped it, whoever taps the body first? Because that's how it is with resources and everything else, it sounded like. But I don't know.
Are Zergs really
Oh,
about
okay.
impatience? Sorry, I'm just responding without saying. Drunk Ninja. Are Zergs really about
I'll have to look back
impatience?
into that.
Or are Zergs more about the play style to win? I don't know that they're about impatience. It's an overwhelming it's an attempt to overwhelm to win, right? I don't know. Anyways.
I didn't really understand how it applies to Zergs. Why? And maybe this is the same thing you said. I don't understand why that, how it risk versus reward prevent Zergs. I didn't understand. So maybe the
Yeah.
reward part is supposed to be preventing the Zergs.
I think he was saying if you join a Zerg and you steamroll some other guild, that doesn't mean you're going to get any material reward from it. And
Mm-hmm.
that you're
Mm-hmm.
going to participate in the act of risk versus reward. And the risk is less about steamrolling this group because you brought a Zerg, but it's more in what you're going to get from it and what resources did you spend going into it. How much is your repair bit going to be from it? How many potions and things did you expend? And so there'll still be that level on the risk factor to it. Are you willing to risk all of that stuff in order to help 149 other people go steamroll this group of 40?
Yeah, sorry, everybody's talking about limited rewards and how that's not rewarding for large groups. I mean, again, going back to EverQuest, I mean, there was no cat. Like you would go in with large groups. Your your reward is your point system. You build up your points so that you can spend it because it might drop something you couldn't use anyways. And that could happen even with a smaller group. Like I could go in with 100 people, I could go in with 30 people. It could be that I'm a cloth wearing mage and it drops a plate helmet. Like I'm not going to get that anyways. But what I get are the points for being a part of that group and taking down that boss, so that when I do come to an encounter, I can then use those points. So that's again, I don't know how that changes this. And I guess a lot of people, it seems like, are taking Zerg mentality to be sort of like pugs. I also don't really look at a Zerg as a pug only approach. I think there are very large guilds. I mean, 300 player guilds will also Zerg. I mean, and that's understandable. There's more security in a larger group of people, especially if you're a guild that understands each other versus a pug. Um, it just makes sense to bring in more people if your goal is to win. But again, I see my point. I see my benefit there. 100%, I'm going to get DKP. It's questionable whether there's even something that drops that I can use. So I don't know. That's where I just have a hard time with that answer. So maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Well, and I guess that's interesting because I think that that does kind of underpin my perspective or play style or philosophy too. Is that I would hope, like when I'm out killing stuff, like in a group, I don't necessarily. I want to get something, and even if that something is dragon kill points and not, I don't have to get like the big thing that drops. Like I don't have to get the wings or the feet or the eyes or whatever, but I'd like to be able to get some scales or something, like just to say I was
Yeah.
there. I did participate. And then somehow I'll be able to turn that into something related. Just to say I was there. I don't have to get the big thing, but yeah, I would hope that I'd be able to get some points or something.
I don't know. I always did it to help the guild too. Like I when I would raid, great if I get a big
Well,
item, but it's more so to help the guild advance to the next raid, or the next boss in the raid. Like, so again, even say not everyone wins, but then there's still the same mentality of I should get something. I don't know.
I don't know. I think of it like this is not even good numbers. Just pulling it out of nowhere. Every dungeon has 6 bosses. Each boss drops 6 items. You have a raid group of 40 people. Each person in the raid group wants 5 specific items. So if you get the most ideal, wow, that looked like it was a stinger there. Well, you get the most ideal somehow rolls every single time, the most optimal, you would need to run that place 6 times in order to get all of those items for everybody. You're not going to get it in 6 runs. You're going to get it in probably closer to 20 runs. And if any of them are things that people need multiples of because they're like a crafting component, not the finished thing, you're looking at more runs. If there's something that escapes your guild for an entire year of doing the runs, well, you might be playing WoW, because that's why I quit.
Mhm.
So and then even with that, thinking about WoW, by the time the guild had Onyxia, Molten Core, and Blackwing Lair, that was already enough to fill out like the raid schedule for the week, and people would be able to get tons of kick-ass items at a pretty quick pace because we kept coming back and doing it every week. And so then I think about world bosses. Well, let's say you get let's say you're the most badass world boss hunters and you can find 20 of them a week with your raid group of 100 people. That's great. It's going to take some amount of weeks before everybody even gets a chance to get one of anything. There's a lot of people probably down the totem pole that might still not have gotten much of anything the whole time. But
well, yeah. So
it's you get what I'm getting at with it. This is just kind of taking from older MMOs and that sort of mentality and the raid bosses and that level of scale and stuff. They didn't give something for everybody. They gave some gold. They gave maybe a fancy resource or two, and they gave a few items, and that was it. Not everybody got anything. Everybody didn't get something, and everybody didn't get the same individualized loot. Vanguard
so
was a good game. I missed it. Should have been
so
better.
The example that
Redundant.
Steven used to use way back in the day at the beginning of development was the Winter Dragon comes in, and while the Winter Dragon is there, there's a perpetual winter, and it's gonna snow and cause the roads to shut down, and it's gonna cause all kinds of problems until you kill the dragon. So to me, the real reason to kill the dragon is because it's affecting the area. I need the dragon to be gone because it's a problem for the region, not so much because I need a reward. I need the dragon head or dragon paws or whatever. But other people can. I want to be able to participate. I would expect that would be a raid size battle. And I don't need to be so uber that that I get the big drops. But if I'm participating in that for 30 minutes, give me a dragon kill point. And maybe I don't know, after 3 months I have enough dragon kill points to turn that in for some kind of, I don't know what it would be, raid participant, something. But yeah, I do want to be recognized for having participated somehow in taking down the um in taking down the dragon. It doesn't necessarily have to be, super uber.
Yeah, it's the rep thing that I'm a little more excited. The idea that if
Hmm.
somebody did participate in taking down 7 dragons and they have no gear to show for it, that is something the system likely has the tools to look at, is to scan your equipment, see that you don't have anything from any dragon kills, and then open up the opportunity that when you're talking to somebody, it's like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Wow, 7 dragons. Surely you've obtained, wondrous loot, blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, well,
Hmm.
I actually, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, no, that can't be true. It's
Hmm.
written in the stars. You should have, this magic helmet. Here, let me show you a place on your map. And suddenly, an NPC just gave you an instance quest to go in and pilfer some dragon's horde to grab some nice helmet and a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and maybe on the way out the dragon wakes up and it's a skeleton dragon that's weakened, so a single player of the appropriate level range would be able to fight and defeat it with proper awareness and tactics, or otherwise just run past it. Hey, I don't need to fight it, someone else can fight it. I fight live dragons, not skeletons.
Can there
Oh,
be
probably not a
300
dragon.
people in one place? I
Yeah, a
thought
whole
300
guild.
people in one. I thought 300 people in one place was difficult to do. I know
Well,
Brass.
that's a whole guild gathering.
Hmm. I
If
know
you
in
have a
Ash
whole
is
alliance gathering, that's 1,200. Better get ready for that.
uh-huh. But is that what we saw in places like in WoW? They were able to do 300, 200. Were they able to do that?
I have to imagine they instanced out anybody that wasn't within line of sight.
I don't know. How big were Zergs when you were running EQ or WoW or other MMORPGs? Were they really 300? Is that a typical Zerg? What's it? I was thinking more
I
like
mean,
even
with
100 would be a Zerg.
EVE Online, they said, "Hey, if you guys are gonna have a big battle somewhere, could you give us a heads up so that way we can boost the servers in that region?
Okay.
Thanks." And so,
L2 had
yeah,
hundreds in 2004.
as
Okay.
just as I was saying, EVE Online there.
Okay.
Yeah, L2. There's some videos out there, some crazy fights. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I do wonder if I define Zerg differently. I think it's a useful tool if done right. I mean, but that's the same for any strategy. I mean, if you have a guild leadership that actually takes care of its people, um, then they're not gonna. I wouldn't care if today's raid night, everything went somewhere else. Okay, my turn will come. Now, if you have a guild leadership that are full of assholes and just want to play friend, give things to friends and do that, then yeah, those will fall apart. But I don't see that as a result of a Zerg. I see that as a result of poor leadership. So I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Who should get the loot when they defeat the boss? I guess that depends on the style of loot rules you're using. Imagine most will be master looters. I actually don't think DKP were a bad thing. I think that's a useful system. Everyone gets points for being present and doing what you're supposed to do. So
Yeah, it's a meritocracy of sorts. I understand the utility of it. I understand being able to wield it as a parent over their children as a way to get them to behave. Yeah, it works to an extent, except if I was on every raid, which I was for a while, I got so much DKP that I was able to ultra gear myself out, and it made me wonder, golly, I wonder if some other people having some of this gear would have actually been better for us. But I'm a super overcharged Corn Shaman engineer, and I'm gonna go smash face now.
Yeah, so I just Googled how many people are in a Zerg, and I'm seeing 15 to 25, well over 50 players. The next one said 48, 25. And I was thinking, yeah, probably in my mind it's like 50 to 100 is
Google's
just
wrong.
what I generally think of. But
I think it's
okay.
more of like a ratio sort of thing, like a 10 to 1, 20 to 1. Like, I'm thinking of, actual Zerglings attacking Terran soldiers that you've got maybe 20 or 30 soldiers, and here comes, 100 Zerglings.
Yeah, I mean, I just typically thought a mass of people, and I was not thinking. I mean, in my mind, it's like I don't know, 50 and 100 are a lot of people. But I never really thought about it more than that. So, okay, 300. All right.
About out of questions here.
Yeah, we've been on for I've even actually been
What?
on for just about 2 hours here, so
Yeah.
Did we
at
do the
least
time to
that
kill
one.
one? I don't remember. Did we do that just real quick?
Time to kill?
Yeah, that was.
I
I don't
don't
remember we
think we
talked about
did.
that.
Go ahead.
Well, it's just the time to kill for 1v1 and group PvP. The answer was 10 to 15 seconds, up to 30 seconds on 1v1, depending on the class. What do you think about that?
I
Depends
think
how
it's
good you
horrible.
are.
No, we
Depends
did
how
talk
you
about it. We did talk about
respect.
it.
We did. I
Depends
don't
on
remember.
it depends on so many factors. If somebody rocks your your scissors or whatever, you paper their rock, you know, it happened. That's what that's what occurred. But um I guess I like the idea of people having enough opportunity to disengage and get away instead of committing if you're being attacked. Some classes are designed, archetypes are designed to prevent that. But I think archetypes will also have a lot of ways to, various oh shit buttons to kind of counter it regardless. So to that extent, I think there will be enough ability that if people want to get away, they can get away with a slow time to kill like that, versus a group PvP sort of thing. You're expecting, yep, we're gonna clash, we're gonna die, they're gonna die, we're gonna die, they're gonna die. It's gonna happen. Try to have more of us kill more of them, and less of us fall down. That's the goal. But I think the stakes are completely different 1v1, it's better that it's slower, just, once again, for the extent that you can potentially juke a ganker out in the open and be able to, get far enough at least that other players would be like, hey, you're running from a ganker, it looks like. Here, we'll intervene. We like PvP. Especially if you tagged them red and then you just kite them to like a group of people that are killing mobs. They might not even know. It's like, oh, there's some rogue shaped dude over there we killed. I don't think he has any. Check him for loot. It's a pile of ash.
Yeah, I think what I've saw is everybody commenting that it seems very fast, especially as you do groups. Of course, what's that was brought up, and Stephen did mention. Well, what that gives you the opportunity of is if you are a smaller group versus a larger group, you if you are better organized, you can potentially take down that larger group because of that TTK. So I don't know. It's something that just needs to be tested and see.
So my problem is that for an RPG, well, one, Ashes is supposed to be balanced for an 8-person group with one of each primary archetype. So, and for me, in an RPG, I want to have enough time to see what my group mates are doing, and then adjust my tactics to fit
Oh yeah, we
theirs and
talked about this.
synergize my skills with them. So, I mean, 10 to 15 seconds seems like it's not long enough to do that. Um, it seems like by the time I look over and say, "Oh, Neuro is doing that ice blast," do I have something to go stack with that? The guy's already dead. Um, so I would want something longer than that. Um, and I'm not particularly a fan of hack and slash games, or that's about shooter speed to me, and I don't want my RPG. I mean, I want it to be faster than what is it, Pantheon, that I say is like clunk, clunk, clunk.
Yeah, I'm not
Um,
into that at
but
all.
but I don't want it to be as fast as a shooter. But
You and Neuro will be respawning. No, Neuro will be killing all of us actually. So that's how that will go.
Mhm.
Well, we are well over our normal time here. 2 hours and 17 minutes. So I think
Oh,
we will probably go ahead.
I was gonna say, if we've got the free time for it, I'm happy. Usually, like an
yeah,
hour is like when it's supposed to be cutting it off, and then we go over anyway. But yeah, and so next time we'll have a whole episode of live stream to talk about, and that'll be interesting.
yeah, we
Yeah.
got rated, so we have our normal crew, which was fun, but we also had a bunch of new people too, which
Yeah,
also made it more fun.
it's
I mean,
great.
it was awesome. Thank you
Um,
guys for showing up, by the way.
yeah.
I don't tell you guys that enough. Niker and Football and Mag Spy and, you know, our regulars. It's a lot of fun.
So I think tomorrow we'll be joining some folks at the Golden Feather Tavern for a Parlor Games nighttime session, which will be fun. So if you have some time tomorrow, check out their Twitch. I think there's drinking involved, so I'll have to think I'm out of what I've been drinking, so I'll need to figure something else out. But it will be a fun evening. So
Uh,
all right, everybody. Thank you. As Diggs has so politely and nicely said, thank you all for joining us and regularly joining us. I think the entire Ashes community have seen just a increase over the last several months, which is just the hype for Alpha 2
which is
getting
right
here.
around the corner.
Yeah, it is actually. Yeah. When is third quarter? So that would be August,
Through
September,
September.
October. Yeah.
Hmm.
So, anyways, we hope you all have
July,
a
August,
great
September.
week. And yeah, unless you all have anything else to say, I think we will close it up and we will see you back here next Sunday, hopefully with a whole brand new stream to kind of talk about. Um, She looks excited to watch. So, all right.
Yeah. Later, everybody.
See ya.